Welcome to Episode 9, How to Appeal Disallowed Travel and Transportation Expenses. This episode will teach you about the process and procedures for reclaiming and for appealing disallowed travel expense amounts. By the end of this episode, you will understand the following. The authority to review and disallow travel expense claim vouchers. Some common reasons why expenses are disallowed. The importance of providing the reason for a disallowed claim. The authority to challenge and appeal disallowed expense claims. The standards for challenging a disallowance. The end-to-end process for challenging the disallowance of travel expenses. The procedure for filing a reclaim voucher. The procedure for challenging a disallowance to the senior travel official. The avenues for appealing the disallowance of a claim. How legal notice must be made to the agency. The following symbols draw your attention to a particular point or topic. The red circle and exclamation point denotes a very important point. The yellow caution triangle denotes a safety note warning that failure to heed the point will likely cause significant issues. The blue exclamation point and banner denotes a best practice. And the blue binoculars denote a case study used to further explain or provide an example. Federal Travel Regulations Section 301-70.200 grants authority to the designated approving official to review an employee's travel expense voucher claim and to determine which expenses will be allowed or disallowed. A travel expense voucher consists of multiple individual claims, itemized by date, expense type, and amount, along with any required documentation or receipts. The designated approving official may disallow any number of claims on the voucher if they fail to meet the standards established in the FTR. The designated approving official must notify the claimant of any disallowed claims, providing a detailed explanation of the decision. Some common reasons why claimed amounts are disallowed include: the expense was not itemized, such as lumping expenses together, like ground transportation and baggage. Receipts or other required documentation were not provided, such as not providing lodging receipts or receipts for an expense of $75 or more. Expenses were claimed that were not authorized, such as claiming an expense type not listed on the TDY authorization, or spending more than the amount listed on the TDY authorization. Forgotten expenses were claimed after a signed final voucher claim was settled. One reason why claimants challenge disallowances is because the designated approving official failed to provide a detailed explanation for why the claimed amount was disallowed. The process for disallowing expenses is set in regulation and was designed to ensure that disallowance decisions are not made arbitrarily or capriciously. It is presumed that the claimant is honest unless demonstrated otherwise and that the claim will be administered properly according to what may be authorized, what was authorized, and what was actually incurred. Failure to provide an explanation for disallowing a claimed amount, even when there is clearly a basis for the disallowance, can give the impression of an arbitrary or capricious decision. Nevertheless, there must ultimately be a basis in law or regulation for allowing a claimed amount. Failure to provide the reason for the disallowance does not establish an obligation to pay. That said, simply providing the reason for a disallowance will inform the claimant, avoid friction, and improve the efficiency of claims administration. FTR Section 301-52.10 allows an employee to challenge the disallowance of a claim if the claimant has additional facts or documentation to support the request for reconsideration. FTR Section 301-52.11 establishes the standards and the overall process for challenging the disallowance of a claim. The Federal Travel Regulations standards for challenging a disallowance require the claimant to provide full itemization of all disallowed items being reclaimed, provide receipts for all disallowed items being reclaimed that require receipts, if the agency does not yet have the receipt, provide a copy of the notice of disallowance, state the proper authority for the claim if challenging the agency's application of the law or statute. The process for challenging a disallowance, as outlined in the Federal Travel Regulation, consists of three distinct parts. 1. Reclaiming expenses. 2. Challenging the disallowance internally. 3. Appealing to an adjudicative body. We will first present an overview of the entire process, then closely examine each part. This flowchart provides an overview of the appeals process beginning with the submission of the original claim to the final determination. Pause the video and take a moment to review. Employees who wish to challenge the disallowance of a travel expense claim must first file a new voucher to reclaim the disallowed amount, i.e., a reclaim voucher. Following this procedure, use the eGov travel system to create a copy of the original voucher. Use the Notes functionality to indicate this is a reclaim voucher. Delete all unchallenged expenses, including those that had been allowed on the original voucher. Leave the TDY voucher fee expense on the voucher. Ensure that any required documentation, such as a receipt, is affixed using the receipt's functionality. If a receipt was already provided, then enter a note using the note's functionality to the effect of receipt affixed to final voucher. For a claim to be paid, there must be lawful basis, authority, to do so. The authority to pay travel and transportation expenses stems from law, regulation, and, when allowed, policy. When the authority is according to policy, there must both be authority to implement the policy and the policy must not be contrary to law or regulation, i.e., manifestly contrary to statute. When challenging a disallowance based on the application of law or statute, the claimant must specify the law or regulation that authorizes the payment to be made. Opinion, erroneous guidance, instructions or directives, bad or unsound advice, creative interpretation, bad or erroneous information, appeals to reason, fairness, etc., do not establish a basis in law or regulation. A reclaimed voucher is processed the same as the final voucher, i.e., it is first routed to the designated approving official. The designated approving official determines which if any amounts are allowed, sends a notification regarding any further disallowed amounts to the claimant, and routes the claim for certification and payment of allowed expenses. If the reclaimed amount is denied, then there is no further action to be taken by the designated approving official. The employee may continue to challenge the disallowance by submitting the challenge to the senior travel official. After the reclaimed voucher has processed and is stamped paid, the claimant should determine whether they wish to continue to challenge any remaining disallowed amounts. If so, the claimant may continue the challenge to their optive senior travel official. Senior travel officials are not judges, so they do not hear appeals. The challenge is still being administered within the agency's procedures. The claimant must prepare a memorandum including all information related to the claim. In preparing the challenge, the claimant must meet the standards set in FTR Section 301-52.11. The claimant then submits the challenge by email or mail to the senior travel official. The senior travel official will review the challenge and decide within 30 days whether the disallowed amounts will be paid. Senior travel officials will not overrule the decisions of designated approving official when the matters are within the official's discretion, nor will they allow claims that have no basis in law, regulation, or policy to be paid. Challenged amounts that are allowed by a senior travel official will be paid, and the claimant may then appeal any remaining disallowed amounts to the next level. To be paid those amounts allowed by the senior travel official, a claimant must submit through the eGov travel system a new reclaim voucher for the amounts and affix a copy of the senior travel official's decision to the reclaim voucher. The designated approving official will review the claim to ensure that it conforms to the decision. If it does not, then the designated approving official will adjust the claim to match the senior travel official's decision. The claim will then be approved and certified for payment. The employee may now externally appeal any remaining disputed amounts to the appropriate adjudicatory body. Bargaining unit employees, if the matter is covered by the in-force labor agreement, then the matter is addressed according to the agreement's grievance procedures. U.S. Public Health Service commissioned officers must appeal to the Defense Office of Hearings and Appeals. All other employees, the matter may be appealed to the Civilian Board of Contract Appeals or through the Alternate Dispute Resolution Process, ADR. The appellant is responsible for meeting any administrative standards for appeals established by the adjudicatory body. Adjudicatory bodies might require the claimant to serve legal notice of the appeal to the department. In such cases, legal notice must be made by mail to U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of the General Counsel, 200 Independence Avenue Southwest, Washington, D.C. 20201. If a designated approving official disallows a claimed expense, what must the claimant do first to challenge the disallowance? A. Appeal to the Operating Division Senior Travel Official. B. Make notice to the agency's Office of the General Counsel. C. File an appeal to the adjudicating body or through the grievance procedure. D. Reclaim the disallowed amount by filing another travel expense voucher claim. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is D. Reclaim the disallowed amount by filing another travel expense voucher claim. Complete this sentence by selecting the correct answer. For a disallowed claimed amount to be paid, there must be A. An approval by the senior travel official. B. A basis in law, regulation or policy to pay the amount. C. An appeal made to the Civilian Board of Contract Appeals. D. A cost advantage to the government. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is B. A basis in law, regulation or policy to pay the amount. What is the term for the type of document that must be used to reclaim expense amounts listed on a final voucher that were disallowed? A. Final voucher. B. Local transportation voucher. C. Supplemental voucher. D. Reclaim voucher. The correct answer is D. Reclaim voucher. What process must a claimant follow to challenge a disallowed expense to a senior travel official? A. The claimant must send an email complaint to the senior travel official. B. The claimant must submit a memorandum that meets standards set in the Federal Travel Regulation. C. The claimant must seek a meeting with their supervisor and the senior travel official. D. The claimant must grieve the matter to the Civilian Board of Contract Appeals or the Defense Office of Hearings and Appeals. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is B. The claimant must submit a memorandum that meets standards set in the Federal Travel Regulation. What two terms best distinguish the internal and external processes for challenging the disallowance of claimed amounts? A. Allow and disallow. B. Appeal and settle. C. Key and appeal. D. Challenge and appeal. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is D. Challenge and appeal. If a designated approving official authorizes an employee to incur an expense not allowed by law or regulation, is the employee entitled to be paid if they incur the expense? A. Yes. Approving officials bind the government by their decisions and the government's obligation must be met. B. No, but the approving official can be made to reimburse the employee through adverse administrative action. C. No. The Civilian Board of Contract Appeals has ruled that bad advice or information, or improper direction, does not establish an obligation to pay that which is not allowable by law or regulation. D. Yes. The Tort Claims Act is invoked to make the employee whole for the improper decisions and directions of the management official. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is C. No. The Civilian Board of Contract Appeals has ruled that bad advice or information, or improper direction, does not establish an obligation to pay that which is not allowable by law or regulation. True or false? The expense type, day incurred, and amount incurred, plus any justification or receipt when required, must be provided on the claim for a claimed amount to be allowed. A. True. Itemization is required by the Federal Travel Regulation. B. False. The Federal Travel Regulation does not require itemization. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is A. True. Itemization is required by the Federal Travel Regulation. If an employee is a member of a collective bargaining unit and the matter is covered by the in-force labor agreement, then what avenue must the employee use to appeal a disallowance allowed? A. Appeal to the Defense Office of Hearings and Appeals. B. Appeal to the Civilian Board of Contract Appeals. C. The Labor Agreements Grievance Process. D. The Alternate Dispute Resolution Process. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is C. The Labor Agreements Grievance Process. What office receives legal notice for the agency? A. The Senior Travel Officials Program Office. B. The Operating Division Counsel's Office. C. The Office of the General Counsel. D. A Post Office of the United States Postal Service. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is C. The Office of the General Counsel. What is the most common reason why claimants challenge a disallowed expense? A. The claimant feels they are not treated fairly or equitably. B. The designated approving official fails to review the claim within 7 days. C. The designated approving official fails to provide an explanation for the disallowance, so the decision seems arbitrary and capricious. D. The certifying official fails to provide an explanation for the disallowance, so the decision is manifestly contrary to statute. Pause the video, consider your response, and then resume to learn the answer. The correct answer is C. The designated approving official fails to provide an explanation for the disallowance, so the decision seems arbitrary and capricious.
Congratulations! You have completed this episode. Thank you for participating. The next episode in this series is episode 10. Retroactive Amendment of Approved TDY Authorizations.